Hello and welcome to a new episode of a new series that I'm going to be doing here with Mr. Disfinity. I love Professor Toybox's Toybox tutorials, and this is not going to be exactly the same as those, but they're going to be similar. I like to call these neighborly advice from Mr. Disfinity within Disney Infinity. I feel it's very appropriate that Professor Toybox has his Toybox tutorials. And so I thought, well, Mr. Rogers is one of my heroes, my personal heroes, and since I'm Mr. Disfinity, we'll do neighborly type advice, just like a neighbor would give, kind of like what Mr. Rogers would do, or something to that effect. So this is the neighborly advice. I actually just barely recorded this, and it did not, for whatever reason, record. I thought I had recorded it, so I'm going to try this again and see if this works. I brought Judy Hopps along because she's one of our Disney characters, and a lot of the toy boxes that you've already seen from me so far, and will continue to see from me, involve some of the more of the Marvel and Star Wars, and so I thought I'd use a Disney character this go around. One of the things, and actually, I guess, yeah, Zootopia as well, and I've got a couple of Zootopia themed toy boxes that we'll be doing at another point. One of the reasons I wanted to start this series was because just recently, when I did my Legend of the Ten Rings, or the Ten Rings compound that I did with Shang-Chi, uh, the replies that I got from a few people, some of the feedback that I got from some of my viewers was that they were unaware of what I had called the Undertaker hack. And I think that there are some of those hacks that are out there, whether we see them deep within a video, or whether they are ones that we just use ourselves as creators within Disney Infinity, that other people aren't aware of. And I loved that Professor Toybox recently has started with some of his Toybox tutorials doing something similar to this, with just short little answers to questions or things like that. And I thought that I would share some of mine, whether they are some of those that I've gotten from others, and if so, I will give them a lot of the credit that it may be buried within one of their videos, and kind of prevent you from having to go through and completely look. And I will also give you the reference to that, those types of things. Or if it's something that I was just aware of and maybe have not seen somebody talking about, and maybe you have, but it would be nice to be able to just have a spot to be able to have those. And so this one I'm going to do involves the Skydomes, because one of the things that I have discovered is maybe I'll be watching a video from another creator, 72 Pringle, or one of the other ones, Professor Toybox. I've given him a lot of love so far. One of the other creators, you will see that they have a toy box that they've already done and they've already created.
Is it just me, or is this place not big on law and order?
Thank you, Judy. That they have already put down, and they will do something like putting down a power disc that has a Skydome on it. Like, for instance, the Pride Lands from the Lion King, or they can put down another one, and I'm just grabbing a couple of them that I have. The one from Frozen. So we have some of these that we have available, and you can purchase those, and depending on how often you use them, sometimes there might be some that you might want to purchase, or if you find them on a good deal on eBay or something like that. But a lot of times, especially if you're going to be using this for just a one-time only toy box, or you're going to just kind of be using it and you say, well, I would just kind of like to play around with that and use it. Maybe instead what you might want to do is be able to use this hack with it. Now, first, I'm going to jump over here, and I'll go back to the Sky Changer just to remind you, if you've seen it before, how the Sky Changer works. I like to place the Sky Changer up in the air just a little bit more when I do it, and you know how the properties work with that. You change the properties, you go to it, and there's a bunch, probably about 3 or 4 dozen different, probably about 3 dozen different skies that you can use. And though they're fun skies to be able to have, and we'll go back to the original one that we had here. sometimes you just want something just a little bit different, especially if you've seen one of the examples that I like to use. Maybe you've seen Professor Toybox's Disneyland one. And while this specific sky, and that's why I used that one, this specific Skydome would work really, really well for Disneyland, which I have actually used. This is the one I use when I've been recreating Professor Toybox's builds. Maybe instead you're wanting to actually use the Danville sky that he did. So I am going to make sure I put in a caveat right here. This only works if you're planning to keep the same sky throughout the toy box. You can't use this. You can use it to start, but you can't go back to it. If you want to use it as this hack as a start, and then change the sky by going through to a specific part, you go through a trigger area or something like that and set it up for logic to change the sky. You cannot change the sky using this hack. You have to start your toy box this way and either finish it or change it to something and not change it back. So doing something like the Small World that Professor Toybox recently did, you would not be able to do this with this and change the sky to the Small World sky. And like starting outside and then moving into the Small World sky. That's the biggest caveat. There is one other one that I'm going to put on here too. Oops. One other thing I'm going to tell you while we're going through this. But to start off, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use this. We're going to drop down the toy dispenser. Now, some of you may have played with the toy dispenser and didn't realize exactly what it did. It creates a bunch of capsules. Now, with these capsules, you can create a bunch of things. I'm not going to hop on any of those other colors. Notice I put the yellow one over here where I can mess with it. And there's a reason behind that. But there's a vehicle one. There are weapons. And there are abilities. And you can get all of those. It's kind of a fun thing to be able to play around with if you're just messing around in the toy box. Especially if you want to do something, Hunger Games style and give people different things to be able to mess with or whatever. And I'm going to change, instead of having the magic wand, I'm going to give her a blaster because we're going to use this a lot. So when you step on the yellow one, you're going to have one of three things that's going to happen when that yellow capsule comes out. When you break the yellow capsule, you will either have a little creator person show up, you will have a change in your terrain, or you will have a change in your Skydome, depending on what randomly is selected. Now, if you can kick it, you can hit it, you can shoot it, whatever. I like shooting it sometimes, just makes it a little better. So we end up with the Spider-Man Skydome. This is great. This is fun. It's a nice little alternative to the San Francisco one. I like as an alternative. Oh, this is great. This is the Groot Skydome, in case you were wondering. That works really well with maybe Toy Story or some of the things like that. This is the Nowhere Skydome. This is one that when I tried to record it a few moments ago, this one did not show up at all. Another space-themed one. It makes it really nice to do Star Wars or Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe Toy Story, like I said. Some of the space-themed ones, when I say Toy Story, I'm talking obviously Buzz Lightyear. Okay, so when you end up with one of these guys, do not let them run around. They will run amok, and they will cause havoc to your starting of your toy box. So just kick them overboard. They'll just kind of have a parachute, and then they'll disappear. Do not throw vehicles overboard. If you accidentally do the vehicle thing over there, they, from our knowledge, do not disappear. They stay in the bottom of the toy box at the barrier, the invisible barrier that's there at the bottom of the toy box. This is the World War Hulk Skydome. I like using this post-apocalyptic, a toy box that I'll be showcasing later on. I used it for a Corellia from the Han Solo movie. It was kind of a nice little Corellian Skydome for that. We've already seen the Frozen one because I actually have that. So it will continue to do. Now the ones that it will not have on here is it will not produce randomly any Skydomes that you can get from the Sky Changer toy itself. So because they figure you can get those yourself, why randomly build in a Skydome? Now you'll occasionally hit it and you'll say, wait, nothing happened. That is because it was probably the same skydome randomly selected. There's Felix. I think the terrain right there is the Pride Lands. I don't remember for sure. The Skydome, speaking of the Pride Lands, there's the Pride Lands Skydome. And again, we're looking for the Danville Sky one, just because we're saying, hey, what if I want to do the Danville Sky for the Disneyland Toy Box build? So the terrain right now is the view from the suit. So what I have done most of the time is I get the terrains, because there's other things you can get with that. You can change by using the terrain power discs. You can change up your plants and the things in customizing and your plants from the plants drawer. So, and styling them. That's why I tend to do that. And depending upon how often I want to use a Skydome, I will also, look on eBay or places like that, go to the games exchange stores or whatever and find some of the other ones. But it just really depends. This is the one from Wally, another one that's very similar to the World War Hulk one. We've got another change up here. This is called View from the Suit. This is an Iron Man one. You can see that looks kind of almost like something, the view from Iron Man's suit, or like an inside a computer CPU of some sort. I am currently working on a build using that Skydome, and we'll use that later on at another time. And you'll see sometimes they'll just repeat themselves. There's the Danville or Tri-Cities terrain that works really well with that goes with Phineas and Ferb. That is Alice in Wonderland Skydome. I don't know what the terrain here is. I'd have to back off a little bit and see. Maybe it's the Spider-Man one. It looks almost like spider webs. Or it's the World War Hulk. It's Hulk, because it looks like Hulk smashed it. That's the Wonderland, Neverland terrain. Changing it up again. So there are about, I don't know exactly how many. I would say probably about 12 or so Skydomes that are here that you do not have other access to, that you'd have to have a power disc for, or do it this way. And again, this is a thing that is going to require a lot of patience. You have to be able to be patient with it and be okay with the changing up of things. The one thing I do like about doing this method is it gives you some ideas sometimes. You can see a certain terrain with a certain... I love trying to figure out what the terrains are. You can see a certain terrain with a certain Skydome and say, hey, maybe I might want to try that at some point. That's the Small World terrain. And again, just make sure you, in your efforts, that's another thing. If you were to hop on this, you're not going to get multiple capsules. You're just going to have a new capsule arrive every time. So just be aware of that you can't. And you also have to hop on it or step off of it and step back on it again. So it can get a little annoying sometimes to have the patience for it. Wally one. But to me, I think in a lot of cases, especially if it's difficult at the time to, your funds might be low, you might not be able to afford. That's the Spider-Man one. Your funds are low, you can't afford to get a new power disc at the time, things like that. You can take a few moments and just spend an afternoon just trying to figure this out. Make sure that the right one shows up. I don't know how long this video is going to be. This one is Gravity Falls. I did this specific thing. There's the Gravity Falls terrain as well. I did this specific idea when Professor Toybox did the Gravity Falls toy box, and I didn't have the Skydome, and I wanted to use the Gravity Falls Skydome, so I did this hack method, or this over and over method. There we go. This over and over method, just trying to be able to get it to work. A couple of things to be aware of that you cannot get. As far as I know right now, there is one, maybe two. I think in doing this, when I was pre-recording this with the failed attempt, I think I discovered one that I have not yet seen on the using this capsule creator. And the two that I now one for sure know of that does not show up on the capsule creator. Oh, I decided to move it instead. I didn't want to move it. Is, ironically, that I brought Judy Hopps with me because it is the Zootopia Skies Over Sahara Skydome. And I'll show you what that looks like by putting mine on right now. This is the Skies Over Sahara, or Sahara Square. Maybe it's called the Sahara Square. I don't remember what it's called. But it is the one, it has Nick Wilde on the front of it. And this is the Zootopia one. And then the other one that I just barely discovered that I don't think I've ever seen before is, and I used this one in my La Fall toy box, and that is the Tomorrowland toy box, or Tomorrowland Skydome. So I hope that this helps. I hope this helps you do it. Like I said, sometimes it's going to take a lot of patience. There were a number of Skydomes we didn't even see while we were going through that. The Neverland one did not show up. We didn't have the second Tron. There's another Tron one. There's another underwater one that is very similar to the Morro Bay, but it's called Marlin's Reef. That one did not show up. The Sugar Rush one did not show up. The Forgotten Skies. What I would suggest you do on a day, if you have an opportunity to, is if you want to go through and explore in advance, and then you can save those skies with kind of that name, you know, whatever sky, the volcano sky, prehistoric sky, whatever you want to call it, or the nebula sky with that one that was from Groot's Roots. Any of those types of things, you can save that, and then you can go back and start a toy box using that one, and then just save it under a new name once you've gotten that toy box going, and that will help you to, so you don't have to go through on a day that you're feeling like, hey, let me explore those toy boxes. Just go through and do what we just barely did there, and it will create some awesome opportunities for you to be able to enhance those sky domes and actually bring about even more opportunities to make your toy box even more enjoyable. I look forward to hearing how these things work for you. If there's any of the sky domes that you think that I may have missed that may not be in that toy box, the capsule creator, please let me know so that I can also forward that. We can also put that in the comment section so that we can make sure others are aware of that. I look forward to talking to you more and giving some more neighborly advice at other times when we have these types of things that come up. Thank you very much. Have a great day.